What's up, Busy? It's Mitch, the Oddfellow Trucker. Thanks for the video and the questions. Um, I've had a few other people ask me some questions, and I always did a video response, but you're the first one to do a full-on video questionnaire, so thanks for that. Right now I am in Houston. I've been resetting my 70 hours. My grandparents do live here, so I actually just got back to the truck. I should be heading out some point tomorrow. I don't have a load offer yet, but I'm available at 7 local time, 5 a.m. my time, because you have to reset your 70, you got to take a 34-hour break with 2 windows from 1 to 5 a.m. So it'll be about a 35-hour break by 5 a.m. my time, which is 7 tomorrow. So, but anyway, to kind of get back into, to get right into what you asked. First thing you really kind of asked was my teammate going local. My teammate, again, he's married, he's got 2 kids. He wanted to try out the road, wanted to try out teaming. I originally planned on just doing solo myself, but they say once you get on with the trainer, you're more inclined to do teams just for the sake of, team is one person drives, one sleeps. You have that little layover of changing drivers and kind of bullshit about, your day and your drive, and the asshole that cut you off a few states back or whatever. So now that I'm doing local, I'm actually enjoying it, but also I do have a teammate set up for about the 3rd week of January, a kid that went to my school a couple months after I did. I've kind of networked with him through Facebook and all that stuff, and so he just got onto a company truck, got on with the trainer, and he actually threw it my way that I could actually, because you're supposed to wait 9 months to do training. That's 9 months from your hire date. I thought it was 9 months from becoming company, which is October 10th for me, but it's actually August 22nd, which is when I was officially hired. That was the 3rd day of orientation, so I consider August 20th my first day of orientation. My first day was Swift. But anyway, you can do a one-time mentorship where I could technically train him as long as he becomes my teammate. But I thought about it. I actually found out about that like 10 minutes before the training class started. I would have had to do like a day and a half of training course. And then just the fact that I'd rather kind of have him get on my truck with a little more know-how, especially with the fact that it's winter and it's my first winter, and I don't want to be teaching someone else to drive in winter when I've never even done it myself. So to get back to my teammate going local, yeah, he did have the opportunity to do local. He lives in the heart of LA. Our terminal, originally Fontana/Mira Loma, in Southern California, like San Bernardino area, they don't do local. The local is actually deep in LA, and he lives a few miles from it, so it kind of worked out totally to his benefit. He makes over 15 bucks an hour, 70 hours a week, so he has a potential to make like $4 grand a month doing local, which is all good and great for him. So I don't know the specifics. I don't know if it's an open door, you can just do local. I don't know if they needed him because of the seasonal blitz, they call it, with the winter and the holidays and all that stuff, but he managed to do it. He does not, however, get his tuition reimbursement, which is one thing I talked about in the video in Winfield, Kansas, where we got screwed out of our November $150 tuition reimbursement because we had our dates wrong. It's actually your 7th week on with Swift from training, not your 7th week from company. So it's 7 weeks from August 22nd, not October 10th. So that was some confusion, but because he's not doing over the road, he does not get his tuition reimbursement. So yeah, that's total LA opportunity. I don't know the specifics of Phoenix. I don't know the specifics of, in a year you might want to move back east, and they might have more freight in that department, local stuff, but I don't know. So to get on to your next question, I pretty much noted everything, so it's all in order. Things to bring on the road. Swift tells you to bring like 2 weeks worth of clothes, toiletries, all that stuff. Me personally, I brought more than that, probably 3 weeks worth of shirts. I brought originally about 3 pairs of pants, then 4, then 5. I usually rock a pair of pants for a couple days. So, definitely picked up more jackets, as the winter approached. I have plenty of long sleeve, plaid flannels, a few zip ups, kind of a big, heavy jacket. I did bring some sleeper pants, because in the summer you just do rock boxers, but once it starts getting cold, it's good to have that. I did bring a second blanket this was my original blanket. I brought a second when I was back at home for Thanksgiving, and I definitely need it and use it. And also I talked about the heater that I found in my truck, which is all good and fun. So I'm living pretty comfortable. But as far as essentials on the road, like you know, clothing, yeah, at least probably 3 weeks worth of shirts, pants, jackets, all that stuff. A few things as well. You can pick up while you're on the road, but go ahead and just have the foresight to think about it. Is chapstick. The fact that you're going through so many different sorts of weather, I picked up some cherry chapstick for sure. Some aspirin, headache medicine. I actually just got my grandparents to refill my little bottle with some Aleve, because you definitely need that. And then another is antacid, which I never really had an issue. I don't really have an issue, but the fact that you don't necessarily always eat that well, it's definitely a good thing to have. Then one time I had a really sore throat, bought some Ricola. So that's pretty much it as far as those types of things. And then you definitely want to bring, this is stuff, you probably don't need it for training, your trainer will probably have it. But, you know, handy wipes, some antibacterial, you know, stuff, liquid, that sort of stuff. Laundry, me personally, I have always had the opportunity to do laundry, whether it's when I stayed at my buddy's in Phoenix or when I get home, or I just did a little bit of laundry at my grandparents'. I've never done laundry at a Swift terminal or truck stop. It's always worked out where I had enough to last me. So that's one of the more benefits. The more clothes you bring, the less you have to spend on laundry, the less you have to worry about laundry, the less you have to double up on clothes when you're out of laundry. So it's in your benefit to bring as much clothes as you can. Just be comfortable. Tools, definitely bring a hammer. I can't even tell you how many times I've used my hammer. You will have to get a thumper. Your trainer will have one. You won't need one for a while. My favorite thumper is the one I got in Missouri, which is a dual stained thumper. You got to hit the tires, make sure the resonance is right, make sure there's no leaks or holes. But yeah, I originally had one with a little bit thinner threading here, and it ended up cracking at the handle. And then my dad and my old bassist of my band in college, he tells me, they're like, yeah, you gotta hit it with the grain up. And I was like, oh, is that some old baseball superstition? And it's actually true. You gotta hit it against the grain, the ball, or the tire, or anything. Because if you hit with the grain, that's why they stain it with the grain. You'll break it. It was mainly because of the threading. You don't have to even hit the tire that hard. But that's pretty much the gist on that. And those are made in Arkansas. They're available. Pretty much seen them at all the truck stops in Missouri. So I mean, you can get those anywhere, but the nice ones that I like, the dual stains, are in Missouri. Showering is showers are $12, but I've never actually paid for one, because as long as you get more than 50 gallons at a truck stop, you get shower credits, and you also get points you accumulate. They have, first of all, a ComData card, which is your get fuel card. You put all your fuel on this, as well as your money will originally go onto here with Swift until you get a bank account. I got a Wells Fargo again, because Wells Fargo is Swift's bank. You can do advances, $100 per week, but it actually costs you $105, so they make a little bit of money. Administrative, whatever bullshit. So that I don't even put any of my money on that anymore. If you ever have to do like lumper payments or any sort of advance from Swift, they'll put it onto here, and then you get these ComData checks, which you fill out, and you have to call and put the code on and all this stuff. You don't have to do that often, but it does happen. So let me put that away. But yeah, so back to the showering. Like, this is the Pilot Flying J card, my rewards. Then there is the Loves, and then Petro and TA are also the same as well. Flying J and Pilot are the same. And originally my favorite was Loves, but I've actually grown to really like Pilot and Flying J. Flying J has good food. They actually serve pizza and stuff like that. TA and Petro are cool, but Swift doesn't really use them that much. I think I've only filled up there once since becoming company at a TA. But yeah, again, like I said, showers are $12, but you get shower credits that are good for 5 days. It gives you incentive to come back and spend more money there. Like the other day, I had 5 at Pilot, and then they were all gone because it was over 5 days. So yeah, I mean, showering, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too big on showering in the sense that I'm not like one of those smelly people. Like my old teammate, he had a big fat trainer dude that insisted on showering every day. My trainer wanted to shower at least every 2 to 3 days. I shower probably every 4 to 5 days, maybe even 6. Again, the handy wipes that you bust out, if you gotta use them, you know, if you gotta use them. Um, but yeah, it's up to you. It's your discretion as far as when you wanna do it. Um, but back to the tools. Like I said, definitely a hammer. Um, Another one is like a wrench, preferably one that locks, because sometimes you have to get the trailer doors to seamlessly close so you can get the lock on. Like I have one that doesn't lock, and I was trying to do it and I couldn't get it, and so you're supposed to do a double loop with the lock, but I just do a single if it's too screwed up. And then I don't know, bring some duct tape just in case. It's pretty much it. I mean, your trainer will fill you in on stuff you really need. As far as inverters, I did buy this little inverter for about 28 bucks at Walmart. You're not supposed to have any form of inverter on a company truck. You can get in trouble. But I needed one for my laptop. I was always having to charge my laptop inside of truck stops and leave it there for an hour and go back and get it, leave it behind the counter, and headache. I finally got that and got my own, charger, and my data went up about $40 just because I finally had the ability to use my computer whenever I wanted, not just when it was juiced up. So my mom actually got one of these. It's a little water heater. I had the idea to, instant noodles or oatmeal, and I went to plug this thing in and turned it on, and the inverter died because there's too much juice. So now I'm either going to return that or give it to my sister or something. So microwave, refrigerator. My trainer had a microwave and a fridge, and I was big on having a microwave and a fridge myself. Turns out you are not allowed to have a microwave and a fridge on a company vehicle. Hands down, no questions asked. Same as with an inverter. They do not want you screwing up their batteries. They do not want you draining the batteries. They don't want you compromising their vehicles in any way, shape, or form. So what does that mean? It means you adapt. I mean, you are usually at a truck stop or rest area, which doesn't have facilities, or a Walmart parking lot. Like I'm at a Sam's Club parking lot right now, 10 miles from my grandparents, and I'm actually stoked because they always have free Wi-Fi, which is one of the best reasons to ever park at a Sam's Club. But also the fact that this video, which is probably going to be a half hour or so, when I upload it, it's going to be free and not use up any of my data, which is also a benefit as to why I'm getting this video out of the way now. So again, I'm happy to do it, no problem. I'm going to skip the pay at this point because I want to get to it at the end of the video. I'll be a little more thorough. You talked about home time and wanting to stay out there on the road. That's pretty much where I was at. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I did get a music degree up in Northern California at Chico State. Did the whole band thing. Went to Seattle for 2 years. Chased the whole dream. Bottomed out. Went broke. Had to put my tail between my legs. Moved back home with my mom. Didn't really know what I was going to do. Worked for my stepdad a little bit, worked for a sunglass company. The sunglasses company was about 40 miles north through these mountains up to Temecula or Murrieta, and I hated the drive. I hated the destination to work. I hated coming home to being a 27-year-old, 28-year-old living at home post my dreams blowing up in front of my face. And then one day after a frustrating day on the phones, I passed a big rig, and it kind of hit me like, why can't I just do that? And I kind of went through the motions and first passed my medical just to make sure there's nothing compromised. I got my permit on my own because I had a family friend who said he'd teach me to get my license. I got my permit one day with him. He realized, you might want to get into school. He's from Argentina. He spoke really quick. English was a second language. It was not going to be an easy thing to learn from this guy, and you got to be thorough with your knowledge. One good website is truckingtruth.org. Brett Akia. They have practice CDLs, really thorough stuff. They reinforce everything with questions. You miss a question, they'll ask it again and again and again. If you miss it too many times, they'll make you redo it. So truckingtruth.org, check that out. But yeah, so that's kind of where I was at. Living at home, I was just, even if I got a decent paying job, I'd have to spend another year, at home. you know, getting money and then move out on my own, and then what? Like sitting in an apartment by myself. It's really easy when your mom's wiping your ass and making your meals and all this shit. So me personally, that was my reasons for getting on the road. I've seen 34 states now, including DC, 35. I do the shot glass collection thing. I actually forgot to get mine in Michigan, so I have 34 shot glasses. And hell, I mean, states I haven't seen are Florida, Washington, Montana, both the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wyoming, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. So I'm pretty close up there. You might notice this on my thumb, which is a callus from the broom video where I had to sweep out those trailers and found a broom. But by the end of the day, I realized I had a huge freaking callus ripped off from doing that. So anyway, next is your opinion on Swift. I love Swift. Swift, I got into Swift for many reasons. They are the biggest starter company out there. My second was Werner. Third was Schneider. Schneider, the recruiter lady, was a total bitch, and they were last on my list. And by the time she finally gave me approval to even come apply, I was already at orientation with Swift, and I had to call her back, leave a voicemail saying straight up, like, you guys were my third pick. I just did it as a safety, like safety schools when you apply for college, and I got on with Swift, and I'm stoked. I do have a guy who went to my school who went to Werner. At first he said it sucked. The miles were, you know, the loads were slim, and then they paid a little bit more initially, but their raises were late, and then they only gave $100 tuition reimbursement as opposed to Swift's $150. So going in thinking I'd do solo, I didn't even consider them any more than that. And then I find out from my former schoolmate that he split a $7,000 sign-on bonus, and then they were making 34 cents a mile team split as opposed to 32 with Swift. And then if they hit 14,000, 15,000, 16,000, 17,000 respectively, they got 35, 36, 37, 38. They got all these bonuses. And at first it looks all good and fine, and that day he told me, I talked to him in the morning right when I started my day. My whole day I was shot. I called my dad, I was pissed. I said I went to the wrong company. But pretty much reading through the lines of all that is they don't offer you as many miles. So they give you all these little bonuses and all this crap to keep you on, because if you're out there on the road and you're not working, you might be making a little more for when you do work, but you feel like you're restless and you're not being productive, and your family's waiting at home and you're sitting there in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do. So Swift, you know, they do have a bonus structure. Right now I'm at silver. You start off at bronze. I'm already at silver. I thought I had to wait 3 months from company, but no, it's 3 months from August 22nd. So now I make an extra penny per mile for bonus, and then plus solo, there's a bracket. I'll talk that at the end. But overall, I love Swift. Again, it's a new company. It's known as a new company, or not. It's for new drivers. But it's kind of one of those things. You know, you got to start somewhere, and you know, the fact that I'm still in our team truck. Usually they give older trucks to solos, but my teammate, you know, right when he was going back home, they gave us a load offer, and I was able to take it, so I took it. And now my driver leader says that I can wait until after the holidays to turn in the truck, and then I team again 3 weeks after that, so I'm probably just going to say, hey, let me keep it. And then I got my bumper fixed in Phoenix, which you can see on one of the videos, the one in a few videos back, before Boom Goes to Dynamite. I ended up ripping off the bumper, but they fixed that. They fixed another little blemish that was not done by us. It was there before we even got the truck. So it's cool that Swift, you know, got it all good and done. So the next question is doing your own videos, copyrights, music. You know, I do my little copyright logo at the end of my production ones. I do video blogs, but then anything I do production-wise, you know, I just throw it on there. But the music is the content owner of all those videos. They're the ones that put the little ads on. They're the ones that have the little buy this song on Amazon at the bottom. That's all for them. That's all them giving me permission to use their music, as long as they have the opportunity to make some money out of it. There's only been one song that I've made a whole video, picture slideshow. It was actually the last picture slideshow, Pictures Worth 1,000 Miles, episode 3. And then they said this song is blocked completely. One song is blocked in some countries, but that was completely blocked, not allowed to be used. So you got to watch out for that. And my screen went blank. So you got to watch out for that. But yeah. So copyrights, music, nothing to really worry about as long as you pick a song that's not blocked. I think it's just because that song I picked is really new. They want to milk as much as they can without people infringing. Yeah, documenting your travels, that's kind of the idea I had going into this. I did my first video the night before school, did a weekly recap of the 4 weeks of school, did each day of orientation, did a bunch of training where it's just Oddfellow Trucker here, Oddfellow Trucker here, and then once I got into doing company, I felt it kind of be more beneficial to title them and give them kind of a rounded name to give a feel to the video. So slowly but surely I added more personality, because at first you'd have, like, my first videos on school, I'm really kind of non-expressive and just kind of, you know, mundane in my opinion, but I kind of earned my ranks of being able to express yourself and talk about, like our first video, I felt I really expressed myself was running late and riding dirty or whatever. You know, so you just kind of got to earn it, in my opinion. You can't just be straight out the gate, yo, what's up? Hey, I'm a new aspiring guy and blah, 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 and I'm going to do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of just took it as it came, and then do the picture slideshows. And I'd recommend getting Instagram, which is where I put all my my scenery shots. I do 15-second pans, and that's the Panacomps, because you only have 15 seconds, so it's kind of part of the can't think of the word. It's part of the challenge of making it streamlined to the music. So I don't know, and then I wanted a dashboard cam, and then I got one, and it sucked, and I returned it. And at first they said I could only get store credit that day, and then another one in a different state gave me cash, so I was stoked on that. And then I just got my old iPhone. I still am clearing up a bunch of stuff. It has nothing on it apps-wise. It just has a bunch of videos and pictures from Seattle, and so I'm slowly clearing that up and making room. And so I have about 50 minutes, and 50 minutes I speed my videos up times 8, so 50. So it gives me about 6 minutes worth of a video. Usually songs are about 4, so I can kind of splice it up. So yeah, I definitely embrace being able to be creative with this job, because I was an aspiring musician, drummer, aspired to pick up other instruments, start my own project. That's kind of where I got the name Oddfellow. My original project title was the concept of even and odd, but I had it barely even odd, like a play on words, like barely even odd, a little bit weird. And that's another thing, my name kind of gives me a little bit of a license to be kind of weird, which I'm not necessarily weird, but I have my little quirks and things like that, and so now it's kind of now I can kind of do whatever I want. If someone kind of points the finger of that's weird or whatever, I can kind of say, well, I'm the Oddfellow, yo. And again, even starting all this stuff, my dad was like, why do you think you need to make these videos and ask for validation from people? It's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm traveling the country. Why would I not want to share that? Why would I not want to, you know, the fact that the secluded life of a trucker, you know, I get to connect with people through, like, this job would have sucked 30, 40 years ago, before social media and before phones and you know, CB radio and bullshit. And I don't even have a CB. I've never even been on one. I don't necessarily give a fuck about any of the other fucking truck drivers out there. It's you and the road and whatever the fuck you want to make out of it. And the fact that I can still be creative and put music that I like, and I don't know if you notice, every song that I use has to do with either driving or traveling or terrain or so that's part of the fun of it. I look for songs that have to do with that and kind of create an element and a feel. So rounding back to your first one, which is you say you want to do this a year, I wouldn't even put any form of a cap on your interest in this job. It's a process. It's a process between going to school, going through training. You figure out if you want to do it. You figure out how you want to do it. You figure out who you want to do it with. It's pretty awesome to have that ability and not have a boss breathing down your throat. You know, one thing I posted a long time ago on a forum, like, hey, I'm getting into trucking and all this stuff, and this guy, I talked about jobs and bosses over your shoulder and paperwork, and this guy responds like, oh, you think you're not going to do paperwork? You think there's not people over your shoulder? All this crap. It's like, dude, I'm talking about paper pushing all fucking day, sitting in front of a computer all fucking day, files, this, blah, 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 that. I've done it all, cubicles, phone work. I have a college degree, but dude, I wanted to be a drummer. I didn't want to do office jobs. And now I kind of get to tour the country in a different way. I get to listen to Pandora and Spotify all fucking day, get caught up on music that I was too broke to buy albums for when I was growing up, and get caught up on all that shit, and get to make videos and share shit. And you know, I'm not looking to be this big trucker, but I'm just looking to fucking do what I do, and people have started to respond to it. I mean, there's plenty of truck drivers out there, but there's also the ghetto edge a lot of people go with, like, yo, what's up, it's your boy. Not to knock people and their way of doing things, but I just feel like this is how I do things. I'm a pretty much normal white person in the world, and I'm a trucker, and I'm 28 years old, and I'm not an old school thought truck driver. I'm kind of, you know, and don't think you're gonna change the industry and all this shit, and like, just do what you do, and enjoy it. And again, you have a pet, you said, which might, you know, mentally hold you back a little, but the fact that I was looking to get the fuck out of being at home and away from being this 28-year-old living at home, and now I'm doing it. And I just got to see my grandparents for the second time. My first run ever with my trainer was to the same Ross I just went to, the distribution center, and I got to meet up with my grandparents. Went to McDonald's at the truck stop. This time we went to a nice freaking dinner. I had scallop asparagus risotto and a martini and a beer, and slept in all day till 3 and watched some football and had a great freaking time. And so, you know, my buddy Paul in Phoenix, I've seen him a few times. My buddy from college, my old guitarist, got married in Sacramento. I was in Calexico. I was able to 14-hour Greyhound it up, 15 hours back to Yuma, and go to the wedding, see a bunch of people from college. My buddy from Seattle lived in Sacramento. He's from there, and he was back. He let me stay at his house. So the secluded life of a trucker, if you make it the way, you know, turn it into to your benefit, you get to see more people than you thought you would in any other form. You have things to talk about, which is a big thing with me moving at home after the dreams of Seattle and drumming all died. It's like I had nothing to say to people. I had nothing to talk about, and now I have things to talk about, and not necessarily people want to hear all these stories of the road, but at least you have it in your archive of these are your experiences. So yeah, that's all I'm saying. Don't put a cap on it. I mean, I'm going to be 30 January 17, 2015. And all my goal is, like, I've been using my dad's car, which he offered to me for $2,000. I paid $1,000 of it. I needed $1,000 back for school. I actually have the whole $2,400. I'm giving him $2,400 because he was paying $37 a month for insurance for 10 months. So I'm just going to give him $2,400 for the car. I owe him another $500 for when I moved to Seattle. He gave me kind of a startup. I owe my mom a bunch of money from my $2,000 laptop, my $4,000 van, the $4,000 for school she gave me. I mean, you can do the Swift Academy. You live in Phoenix, so that might be to your benefit. Swift Academy, to my belief, is you have to pay them $150. It's Academy's free, like for starters, and then your first year you pay them $150, and then the second year they pay you $150 back. So by the end of 2 years, it was free. But yeah, so I love it. I'm embracing it. You know, rounding back to your questions on pay. You said I don't really talk about pay. That's not on accident. I don't necessarily feel the need to necessarily tell every fucking person how much I make, because A, it's not that much. B, I don't do this necessarily for the money. I do it for the experience, because seeing the country, in my opinion, is fucking priceless. And to get paid for it, regardless of how much, is pretty awesome. And also the fact that I live rent-free at home. At this point, my mom had been paying my cell phone bill for about the last year, and then I gave her $100 for September, October, and then I told you I upped my data usage about 40. It was actually about $60. So then she's like, you know, it's about $160. I was like, I can swing that. And then she said, maybe you could start paying me at some point for the phone data too, not just for the actual cell phone, not just the data usage. And I was like, she's like, that's another 40. So I give my mom currently $200 a month. I'm actually going to give her $300 on top of that, just as a back payment for all the money I owe her. And then I actually just applied for a Capital One, because I had some bullshit. I had to do bankruptcy last year, all this shit. I wasn't even lying when I said I went broke and had to move home. And so I'm applying to do a $500 secured credit card, so I could slowly build my credit back up, So between 500 credit card, 200 phone, 300 my mom, I'm looking at about $1,000 a month, and the rest is to be saved. So by the time I'm 30, my goal on my 30th birthday is to buy a Dodge Charger, preferably 2010, which is before they made the indents on the door. And by then it'll be 5-year-old truck car, and I can get one probably fairly inexpensive, regardless of miles. I mean, I'm barely going to use it myself, and the fact that I will be on the road a lot, I'll just get a nice cover and leave it in the Swift parking lot. But so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of just going to keep my head into it for the next year plus. You know, I've been thinking about how I want to do it. You know, a lot of people know Swift is a startup company. A lot of good paying companies, you have to do a year experience somewhere before they would take you on. So, you know, I'm throwing the idea. I know a few companies like Crete, they pay about 41 to 43. Interstate, which has a terminal in Fontana where my terminal is, pays 44 with a year experience. Swift as a solo with a year after a year with Swift as a solo, you make 32 cents. You can move to Interstate and make 44. That's 12 more cents a mile times roughly 10,000 miles a month. So what is that? That's extra $1,200 a month. So that's an extra 112, almost 14, 15 grand a year just from moving a company. But there is that on the table. Again, so to cut back to Swift a little bit, I will email you this pay chart, which is, you can't even see it, which is completely variable. So Swift, to start, as a solo, you make 25 cents a mile. After 3 months, you make 26. 4 months, 28. 6 months, you make 30. 9 months, 31. A year, 32. And then a 2-year, 33. 3-year, 34. 4-year, 36. 5-year, 38. So that's solo. But they also do an East Coast, West Coast differential. Depending on if you're on the East Coast, you get paid a cent more because technically they say it's more difficult to drive, it's more congested population-wise. So as a team, you start at 32 cents per mile, and then after 3 months, still 32. 4 months, still 32. 6 months, they finally give you a raise to 33. 9 months, 34. A year, 35. So after a year, solo you'd make 32, as a team you'd make 35, and again you split your team miles. So you either take all your miles and times it times 16, 32, so half 16, or you take 32 and times it times half your miles, half the miles for the whole truck. So teams split the miles times 32, or teams take all the miles times 16 or whatever pay you're at for that marker. So right now, I mean, they say as a team, a decent paying round figure is always 10,000 miles solo. So 20,000 miles as a team. So I keep track of all my stuff. You can't see any of this. Let me see if I can turn it down. I keep track. I've kept track from the very beginning of all my pay and all this stuff. You know, Mitch and Iman, and then Iman went local, so now I just do OddfelloWid. So I actually do videos, or I do screenshots every day. I take my calendar and I do every day miles, and I upload those to Facebook. So after you get that sheet, I'll send you as well. You can go to those albums, whether it's Swift mileage payroll, weekly recaps, or the daily ones, and you can kind of compare. Because again, I don't necessarily feel the need to tell people what I make, but if you want to read between the lines and take it and look for yourself, go for it. First week with Swift as a team, it was only half the week, but we did 2,300 miles. The second week, team week, we did 4,200. So we're aiming for 5,000. Did 4,200. Third week, 5,189. Fourth week, that was third. So fourth week, 34. Fifth week, 5,004. Sixth week, 4,600. And then our last week, 26. Because he left and blah blah blah. So our goal was 5,000, and we barely hit those. And so now, I took 3 days off for Thanksgiving. So now my new goal is 2,500 3 days off, I hit 1785. This week, 2500 was my goal. I hit 2556. So, and now that I'm up to 26 cents per mile, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if it's more to my advantage to be solo as far as finances, because again, you only make money for miles. You don't make money for hooking up. You don't make money for dropping off. You don't make money for any of that pre-trips. Only for miles. So essentially, teams run longer distances, so they get more miles, and they have less bullshit of getting out and changing all this stuff. But teams always do farther distances, but also the fact that if you look at the pay scale, again, which is pretty thorough, and it's a lot to digest, which you can't read it again because I turned my shit back up, you make, so to start, 25 cents per mile for 300 or more miles, 31 cents per mile, 250 to 299 miles, 33 cents per mile for 200 to 249 miles, 35 cents per mile for 150 to 199, 41 cents for 100 to 149, 41 cents for 25 to 99 as well. And then if you get lower than that, we got like 24 extra bucks for doing like a really short, like 1 mile local run. They give us 24 extra dollars for doing it. So I showed this to a lady a few days ago who contacted me, and she said, so are you saying they pay you less money for going farther? And I'm like, no, you're looking at that wrong. They pay you what most companies pay you for going far, but if you happen to have to do a short run, they will pay you more. So the other day I had to do a 236 there, 236 back, Phoenix to Calexico. So I made about 160 bucks that day for 11 hours of work, so roughly 15 bucks an hour. So in my opinion, 500 miles a day is pretty much what you aim for, 2,500 a week. So it averages out. Some days you have to do nothing because that's the only way you won't screw up your 70 and have to constantly take a 34 reset. I say $600 weekly check is a good point to start. So $2,500 a month is pretty much what you're looking to do once you become company. I think for my whole training, which I also kept track of, how much did I make? Training, I made net. Gross to date, I made about $3 grand for 6 weeks, and then I netted $2,446 for 6 weeks. So that's roughly $400 a week for training. Being in Phoenix, they might do it different because mine's California, where they have to factor in minimum wage and all this stuff. So I don't know how they do it in Phoenix, so that's how California was. But once you get going, but again, I've only seen my paychecks go up and up and up, and for a while I never saw a paycheck over 500, and now I barely see one under 600. So it's all variable, and again, I'm not necessarily in it for the money, but there's also the fact that you can do training after 9 months, which I brought up before. And training, when you train someone, you get all the miles for the truck. So essentially, because you have to be on with Swift for 9 months to do training, after 9 months as a solo, I'd be making 31 cents a mile. So 31 cents a mile, and you get all the miles for the truck because the trainee gets minimum wage. So like here I was talking about, so let's say if I went to interstate, 44 cents per mile times 10,000, be about 4,400 if I use 10,000 as my standard, you know what I'm saying? 4,400. But if I did with Swift and I trained, it's 6 weeks of training. So if there's 52 weeks in a year, divided by 6 weeks, 8.66. So let's say I did, if you could do 8 students a year. So I did 24,000 miles total on my truck when I trained with my trainer. So let's take that times 31, which is what Swift would offer you. That's 7,440 divided by 6 weeks is 1,200 a week times, let's say, 48 weeks roughly in the year. You can make about 60 grand going doing training with Swift, and then after a year you get 32 cents, so that's only going up. So back to the, if I went to interstate, 44 cents times 10,000 a month, 44 times 12, 52. So essentially, I could stay. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I think I'm just gonna stick with Swift. I'm gonna team with my with the new kid, probably through end of May, and then once June hits, I'll have my 9 months, and then I can do probably 4 students before winter, because I don't really want to do training for winter, because they will show you a video of a truck going off a cliff with a trainer and sleeping in the back, and a trainee driving. He kind of swerves and swerves, falls on the side, falls off the cliff in Oregon, and boom. So that was a pretty big deal, and I never forget that that video. And you will see that if you get on with Swift. So yeah, it's not the easiest job. It's not the safest job. It's one of the most dangerous jobs in the country, I've heard. But there's a lot of benefits to doing it. Some days it sucks, but again, I just think back to being in an office, doing a 9 to 5, doing a morning commute, the water cooler, good morning bullshit. You know, personal relationships do kind of struggle in the sense that, yeah, you can maintain the ones you do have, but as far as gaining new ones, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. But again, I'm kind of investing in myself because, A, no one's going to want to be with a kid that's 28, 29, 30 living at home with his parents. So I'd rather go out on the road for a year and a half and make some decent money, buy my own car, which is for the first time. I had my brother's hand-me-down truck, my van, which I had in college for my band, now my dad's 97 Honda Accord, which is good and fine. But so it's just kind of a pride thing to be able to buy your own car, and then kind of go from there. But you never know who you'll meet across the country. You never know when you'll come back. And with this job, you can set up your home to be anywhere. And so I don't know. It's variable for everyone, but those are kind of some of the reasons that I am doing this job and why I enjoy it. And I've slowly started to not gain a following, I'd say, but help people out with my take on it all. I just met Brett in Phoenix, who just started the Swift Academy, who's from Northern California, big Raider fan, and I kind of gave him his name, which is Road Raider, and he freaking loved it. And I didn't give him his name, I suggested it, or I joked to it, and he's like, dude, and that's cool. I know you're a Superman fan, ClarkKentTrucker, that's cool. And so yeah, it's just about making it your own, and again, it's you and the road. It doesn't matter about the stereotypes of this job and the slack-jawed white trash trucker with suspenders and his pants falling off of his ass and waddling up his fat ass into the truck and all that stuff. None of that matters. Everyone has their own reason for doing this job. Everyone has their own reason. They talk about your most important stop, which is getting home, and always keeping in mind to stay safe and get to that most important stop. So anyway, that pretty much gives you a good summary. I can't believe it's 43 minutes in. But yeah, I look at it like, you know, as much as I wanted to do this mecca of Seattle and drumming and all this stuff, and then I kind of bottomed out, and now it kind of opened up the entire world for me, because now I don't have to say, oh, Seattle, that's where I want to be, that's where I want to go, that's where everything is, that's where I'm going to do all of it. And once I lost that, it kind of, it's like Fight Club. Once you lose everything, you're free to do anything. You know, and also like Fight Club, make a lot of single-serving friends, and then it's like, hey, nice to meet you, see you never again. But that's kind of where I'm at. Now I get to see the country. You know, I've kind of reconnected with God and being able to see. I don't preach it, but I always pray every day before I drive, and you know, to be able to see the country, which is just a small part of the world. The creation, in my opinion, is pretty awesome and priceless. And so yeah, so awesome for getting into it. You know, it's a lot easier for me to make these videos instead of typing it out. It makes it more personal and more real. And so I appreciate you throwing me that video as well. And you got like 44 views at this point. I think it's because I liked it on mine and people saw it. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, man, do what you got to do. Be creative. It's not a competition, in my opinion. Some YouTubers might think that. I don't know. but I appreciate it, and I'm having fun with it, and that's the entire point. As long as you're having fun with it and doing what you want to do and keeping at it. So I'll cut it off here at a nice clean 45 minutes. But again, be in touch. You got me on Facebook, and start making videos, and I look forward to following you as well. So thanks again, Bobby, Izzy, whatever you want to call it, and take care, man.